What are drivers saying about the mask policy change for both Uber and Lyft? Hey everyone, Chris here for the RideShare Guy, and we asked you for your feedback on our last video explaining the changes when it comes to the mask policy for both Uber and Lyft. Here's your feedback. All right, so let's take a look at this video and look at your feedback. So let's take a look at the first comment here. Jared, I never required masks to begin with. I'm a firm believer in freedom of choice and have never asked people to wear one, nor have I ever gotten mad for them wearing one. If they wore one, I would too out of respect. And if they didn't wear one, neither did I. I know the mask never worked and they weren't designed for that purpose. And, you know, Jared, I got to say, that's a pretty good way of looking at it, especially just trying to take out that whole conversation of, is this person going to want to wear one or not? And if they do, you know, you can still continue to wear it for them out of respect, and vice versa. If they're not wearing it, well, then they're probably not going to have a problem with you wearing one. It would just get a little weird, though, if they're the ones who are saying, can you wear a mask? And then they're not. So tricky situation at that point. But either way, that's something that I think is a good idea to go with. All right, let's look at the haters comment. He says, there needs to be a true guideline. Sadly, no one can provide it, but ultimately, as we feel comfortable giving rides. Now, Joel is saying, as a rideshare driver, I'm still using my mask, but I'm not making a big deal if the passenger doesn't wear one. Due to safety, no one in the front. Damn a guy RTR said COVID was already a thing when I started giving rides, and I feel I still wouldn't want somebody in the front seat if it wasn't a thing. I always wore a mask, but I never pressed it on the rider. Either they wanted to or not, but I was going to wear mine. All right, so let's go look at Eminem, and says, I can see the if necessary being an issue with passengers. This is regards for sitting in the front seat. They are going to make up any excuse to be in the front, and it will be a fight. And you're right. Passengers will create any excuse to try to do something, like try to fit more passengers in the car than what's allowed, or trying to take children without a car seat. This is going to be the same type of thing. The easiest thing when it comes to this is put something in your front seat. So if it's 1, 2, or 3 passengers that are getting into the car when it's an Uber X, well, they're going to see that stuff in the car and just subconsciously think, okay, I can't sit there. But they could create a problem. And well, at that point, if they're creating a problem and you don't want to take the ride, you can always cancel that. Now, if the maximum amount of passengers do come for a particular ride and you have something in the front seat, well, you would have to move it into the trunk for the time being. But after that ride's over, you can always put it back. Yeah, it might be annoying to get up and out of your car a couple of times or so, but it's going to help be a deterrent for when there's only 1 or 2 passengers and one of them wants to sit up front. So that's one thing you can probably do. Now, Patrick says they were adhering to the mask policy. We drivers will have a carload of passengers without masks. Shaking my head. Damien writes, just because they dropped the whole policy with wearing a mask, it's far from over with COVID still being out there and people getting it. Trust me, I don't like wearing the mask, but when I consider the people I care about, I put it on to protect myself and others around me till it's completely over. Now, Ms. T says, I'm keeping my mask on, my allergies, people in the front sucks. I love my space to keep my cleaning supplies and hot bag. And again, still, you could potentially keep that there if you wanted. Just remember, if the max amount of passengers do come for that particular ride, you'll have to put it in the trunk. But again, it's that deterrent that people will see and just automatically kind of subconsciously go into the back. Some people might cause a problem or a scene, but again, at that point, you could just cancel if you don't want to take it. Now, Ginger Grant says, being a nurse, I think this is a stupid move. I used to drive for Uber, and if I was still doing so, no one would get my car or front seat without a mask. Glad I'm no longer driving for them. Now, Nate the Great says, I'm happy about this. I'm sure a lot of riders are too. I was always 50-50 on masks. Some days, though, I leaned to the 51 side on being against them. Roz says, I will wear my mask. They don't have to, but no one in my front seat if possible. And if so, mask will be required for my safety. This is a side hustle for me, not worth my health. Emmy Miner says, I'll still be wearing mine. Robert writes, I always felt that mask riders kept my car cleaner for the next riders. Masked riders were less likely to be hawking up contaminants. I sincerely felt I was offering passengers a safer vehicle to be riding in. Ezra writes, drivers should have the power to deny no mask without the fear of retaliation or deactivation. Our safety shouldn't be in the hands of Uber. Rideshare Road Warrior Rick had said, recently I decided to let passengers decide if we need to wear masks or not. I will continue to do so just to make the passengers feel okay. Now, Green Chavo says, I could care less about the masks, but I am looking for another job because of the front seat. And lastly, Eric says, I say we can go mask on or off, and if on, I will put mine on. It's up to you as the rider. So is UberX now 4 passengers or 3? And it is 4, since they had changed that whole thing when it comes to if necessary for being up front, meaning that that's the maximum amount of people, then they can sit up front, at least one person. But if it is not hitting that max amount of people, make sure everybody is in the back seat. And again, put something as a deterrent there for you, and that will help quite a bit. You can definitely see that it is a split debate issue when it comes to drivers, well, not really caring whether their passengers are wearing a mask or themselves are, all the way to you got to wear a mask and still going to try to enforce it. So you can see it's split all throughout. So drivers are kind of split on this issue, but the big thing comes down to if you are going to be taking rides, if you are going to be a rider in the car getting in, well, just be respectful of each other. You know, if for whatever reason, you know, you can't come to an agreement and have some sort of issue, you know, just be civil, act according, and then just cancel the ride and cite it because of those safeties. Now, I do hope Uber and Lyft put something in the app that can pop up and say, hey, are you comfortable with this person requesting a mask or not? If they add something like that, I think it's going to take out any particular issue, and it's going to pair passengers and drivers with those that are still under the same thought process, meaning continue to wear masks, don't really matter, or doesn't matter at all. Now, if you don't know what the changes are, or if you need a refresher because maybe you didn't see our video that we had posted, check that video out right here. And also check out some of the comments because we didn't read them all. There are quite a few, so if you want to see them, well, check it out there. And also make sure you subscribe and ring the bell for notifications for all of our upcoming videos. And drive safe, everyone.